So this week's video is um essentially on why it's important to or the value in listening to headmates with specializations other than one's own. Um so this is going to be in the form of effectively a short story. So earlier this week I managed to break our phone screen. So it was reasonably late in the day. Just sitting down, literally playing on the phone, sit down to eat dinner, and the phone slipped out of my hand, carrying one hand, dinner in the other. Slipped, fell onto the corner of the table, and then to the floor. Picked it back up, and most of the screen, well, half the screen approximately, was no longer responding to touch, which is not ideal for a touchscreen phone. So I finished my dinner, and then checked what phone repair stores were open at the time because it's late in the day. So, not many are open. Luckily, there was one in walking distance. Well, I say luckily, it wasn't luckily in the end, but, I was like, oh crap, the place is still open. Walk over in the rain without audio because, again, phone is basically dead at this point, so nowhere to get anything working. And they quote the price of a new phone to replace the screen. So, I'm like, obviously, I know enough to turn that down. Like, that's ridiculous. So, it was unacceptable. But they did sell phones there as well. So, I figured might be a reasonable solution. Of course, that's my thought process. I was like, okay, well, we need a phone. This one's broken. Costs as much to buy a new one as to repair it. So let's just buy a new phone. This is going against Tech Savvy's warnings on buying technology without any research. And I think it's specifically Cat in answer, but could have been any of the more socially minded people. Both giving up their warnings in terms of Tech Savvy on research on technology before buying it, and more socially minded ones on the fact that it's like we're tired, we're relatively stressed at this point, we're in a relatively vulnerable position to manipulation, and although, sales pitches aren't like serious manipulations that, in the grand scheme of things, they are still effectively a form of manipulation. So, I ignored those warnings, or blotted them out, and picked up a new phone that is practically worthless to us. It's, basically non-functional for our purposes. Tech Savvy will be discussing that a little bit later on in this video. So I wasted a load of money on a phone that basically isn't worth anything, and then walked home, spent some time figuring that out with Tech Savvy, and then ended up having to go through the process of buying a phone online anyway. And the expense of buying a phone online anyway. So, that's my part of the story, at least. I'll let Tech Savvy and Katinaza jump in to share the story from their side now. Hey, so Vamps has given his side of the story. So, as the tech one in the system, I figured I'd, explain a little bit on what was wrong with the new phone, in quotation marks. That, if I'd been more present for, no, it's Vamps is owning up to responsibility on it, but, I don't know. I could have tried to be more present, but it's difficult when we're not actively using technology to be present, which weren't at the time. But could have briefed him beforehand if I'd thought about it. Different options. I don't know. There are things I could have done differently, but there are also things Vamps could have done differently. yeah, there's lots of things that could have gone differently if we looked at it at all. You know, I think it's, as much as I respect Vamps for being willing to own up to it and take responsibility for the mistake, I think I learned some valuable lessons that day as well. You know, firstly, I think this is specific to the incident in that when you're looking to get something repaired, probably the first step isn't go to a repair shop. It's see if you can find the price for the thing that needs to be replaced online, for quickly, because that will give you a rough estimate on how much repairs will cost. Obviously, you have to take into account labor, but if you know the price of the component, that at least gives you an idea. And yeah, of course, some repairs you can do yourself. Well, I can do, depending on what's broken, but certainly for a phone, they're too small and fiddly and definitely require things like soldering irons and other pieces of tech equipment that I just don't have access to. But things like laptops and computers, I'm reasonably confident for the most part I can repair by replacing a component when I know what's wrong. Which in this instance would have been the case. It'd been larger, so yeah. But not really the point. The point is, you know, I could have done stuff to potentially prevent this. Anyway, the phone is practically useless to us in a few ways. It doesn't have an SD card slot, which might sound like a big deal to everyone, but our music collection, well, our music collection is stored on our laptop as well, but we have a slightly smaller collection of the same songs basically stored on our SD card. It's also where any photographs we take with our phone are stored. So, it's quite useful for that. And it's a lot of additional storage space on a phone, which especially less of a problem now, but older phones like the one that was purchased tend not to have that much storage space either. So not having an SD card slot becomes even more of a problem there. Now, additionally, it allows for easy copying of stuff over. If we want, can just save it to the SD card, and then we can copy it over to our laptop with basically no effort at all. Well, the same amount of effort as it takes to copy anything from our camera. So yeah, it's really no problem there. The other problem is it requires a full-size SIM, which is incredibly rare nowadays. Most modern phones use a mini or a micro SIM, and although yes, SIM cards you purchase will come with adapters for larger SIM card requirements. If you've held your SIM card for a little bit and not needed that, you're unlikely to still have the adapter. But that's not ideal. That's that's a potential problem. And it also it also uses old USB thing, which isn't that much of a problem. They did give us a charging cable with the phone, so it's chargeable. But even so, that's an added complication because our headphones, for example, use USB-C, not mini USB mini. So that's a difference in what cable is needed. So we can't plug our headphones into the same thing as our phone. Then suddenly, or our work phone into the same thing as our personal phone. So again, not ideal in that. And it's workable, right? If it was a good phone in other ways, I'd have made it work. But it's very, very clearly secondhand. It's got scratches on the case. It does have a headphone jack, which is nice, but it is clearly an older phone using an older version of Android that's unlikely to run everything we want it to be able to run, which is workable in a pinch. But again, want a new phone, we as well get a new phone, right? If we're buying a new phone, we as well get a proper new phone. And yeah, like, it's workable, But yeah, no, I prefer phones with headphone jacks. I mean, you know, there's a few things on that. Obviously, Bluetooth works fine, especially for headphones. But once we already have Bluetooth headphones, Bluetooth earbuds as well is then an additional thing to keep charged on top of, you know, our camera, our vape, our work phone, our personal phone, our headphones, our laptop, our work laptop. It's an extra thing to keep charged, and you know, not all of them use the same chargers anyway, so that's a lot of chargers you need plugged in. So that's not great. Okay, yeah, we can charge our phone through our laptop, but that's inefficient, but it works. And there are ways you can stack things through, but that starts to lead to risks of electrical fires, so not great in that sense. More things to charge isn't great. And I know we're reasonably prone to losing small things, so having an extra small thing to lose, and and you're going from wired earbuds to wireless earbuds, you're going from one reasonably small item that you know you might lose or damage in some way to probably three reasonably small items that you might damage or lose in some way, and that all need each other to still be around to work properly. Yeah, you can work off a single earbud, but if you lose the charging case for them, well, you can't charge your earbuds any longer. Right? And you don't really, it's not long term something you want a single earbud, right? You want both of them because, well, yeah, various reasons. Audio sounds better when you've got both. Do better sound dampen, go to a better job of blocking out sound when you've got both in, when you want that. You've got a choice as to which one you put out when you do want to be able to hear better, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah. Anyway, that's my mini rant on why I want headphone jacks to continue to exist on phones. I'm going to leave now and let Katinaza give their part. They will. So, yeah. You've heard most of the story by now. But yeah. So, obviously, I wasn't that around, which, yeah, as Tech Savvy has explained, might have helped contribute to things, essentially, for very different reasons. It leads to Tech Savvy, well, similar reasons in that, well, no, very different reasons. Yeah, very different reasons. So, Vamps obviously being the most mask presenting. Yeah, well, yeah, and the only guy, the only guy in the system that we know of to date, um, addresses very differently. Well, yeah, presents the body very differently to the rest of us, which makes it helps with stability when Vamps is fronting because the rest of us are less likely to be willing to confront without need. You know, it's significantly less comfortable for the rest of us when Vamps has dressed the body for the day. A few Tech Savvy and Savvy don't really mind because they're far more forming different than a lot of us. But for the majority of us, there is a reason that Vamps tends not to front when any of us have dressed the body, and we tend not to front when Vamps has dressed the body, and it works well most of the time. Of course, in this instance, it wasn't ideal because Vamps could have done with some backup, and no one wanted to be in front to provide that backup. But yeah, there were warning signs in the conversation that were pickable up, but due to the level of discomfort on in for front for myself, I yeah, I was clearly too I was too far from front or not assertive enough myself. So Vamps, well, yeah, Vamps ignored me. And yes, he's apologised and is, speaking up about why that's a bad idea now, and is clearly working to rectify that particular piece of behaviour. But regardless, I was ignored when I tried to point out the warning signs and the option to just walk away. Essentially, yeah, no, he ignored me, and when he ignored me, I stepped back and quote unquote let him deal with it, which clearly wasn't ideal. But the situation has been resolved effectively at this point. Not it wasn't an ideal solution, but a solution has been found, and everything is good. Otherwise, we won't be able to make this video because we need part of our setup generally uses our phone. So yeah, it's the phone makes a reasonable webcam. So yeah, good thing we got one that works. And I'm grateful to Tech Savvy and for Vamps for sorting that out, even if Vamps did break the odd phone. And then ignore me and Tech Savvy when trying to get it sorted initially. But whatever, it's dealt with now, and responsibility has been taken, and a solution has been found. Sort of. It will probably take a little bit to actually, we haven't stress tested the solution yet, and hopefully we never have to, but, at least one has theoretically been found. So, hopefully everything is good now, and we don't need to have this conversation internally, let alone externally, ever again. Hopefully, though, this story can serve as a learning point for you all before you make the same mistake for yourselves. Although, of course, learning lessons for yourselves is often more effective than learning from other people. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this will help, maybe it won't. But yeah, it's the basic general message is listen to your headmates when making decisions. Especially when they involve reasonable amounts of money or relatively necessary pieces of equipment or, anything of any significance. And especially when they're actively attempting to provide you with advice, even when it's uncomfortable for them to be doing so. Yeah. Okay. Before I get too riled up over this whole thing again, I'm going to drop it. Thank you all for listening. This System signing out. Hope to catch you all next week. Please do remember to like, subscribe, comment, especially if you've got any questions you want answered. Be happy to answer them either in the comments or in another video. So catch you all next week.